this is what I really want to talk about. Okay, now you are going to have to do this on paper, but you're also going to have to do it as a project. You're going to make it worth more points than it normally would be by doing double dipping. It's electronic as a project and it's on paper as a worksheet. There we go. Now, we are going to now walk away from the worksheet for a second. We're going to go to Canvas and we're going to do the project together. And I think that'll help you guys if you have any questions about the project that you did over the weekend, right? Okay, so right here under day 3, it says chapter 2, project 4. Now I'm going to do project 4 with you. You are going to do project 5 together as a group. Ooh, so take notes. Okay, so let me open chapter 2, project 4. And this is where the Google spreadsheet is. Somebody texted me, is the Google spreadsheet available? I'm like, yeah, it's right there. So go to chapter 2, project 4. It says there's a document with instructions at this link. The video for how to do this assignment is at this link. And I have an old video from last semester, but I'm going to post what I did in the morning class as well right there. So you guys can look at either one. Okay. But you guys won't need to because you're going to do it right now. Now, as some of you discovered last time, sometimes it's easy to follow along and sometimes it's not. So you gotta figure out you. But a lot of students in the morning class were just following along. But if you're gonna follow along, you gotta make me small and in the corner, or you gotta figure out some way that you can see what I'm doing and see what your screen is. Sometimes students will come in on their phones and have the Zoom on their phone and then also on their computer so they can do both things. So you figure out what you need to do. Okay. We are going to log into our Google accounts. That's why I was saying log into your Google account. And you're going to make a copy of the Chapter 2 Project 4 Google spreadsheet. Okay, so we're going to click on this link and it's going to have that spreadsheet. So there it is. It's beautiful. These are the actual numbers of people with gonorrhea in 2018, which is essentially sexually transmitted infection. So here they are. Now, this is not your spreadsheet. This is my spreadsheet. So you're going to have to click File and make a copy. Or you can do File and download as an Excel file if you want to do it in Excel, right? But either way, File, make a copy, or File, download. I will tell you it's harder to do it in Excel just because I'm not using Excel, so it's not exactly the same as what I'm doing. So I would only choose that option if I were you, if I was good at Excel. All right, so file, make a copy. Now, this is one time where it is super helpful to me if you put your last name or your name on the back end of the file. Now, if you forget and you don't do it, it's fine because um, you will do it. You can always do it later. You can always kind of click up in this area where it says copy of chapter, like you can click up there after it finishes loading and actually enter your last name and it'll be fine. It'll change the file name. So it's not that I can't get it other ways. I can, but it's just super helpful if it's there. Okay. So everybody made a copy. We all good with making a copy? Questions on making a copy or downloading? Oh, thanks. Hannah's got the thumbs ups. That's good. All right. So now that we have our copy, now we're going to do this and we're also going to make notes about this because you're going to have to do this a lot, as Erin and I told you last time, right? So grab a blank sheet of paper, grab the back side of one of your note sheets. I don't really care, right? Get it somewhere because we need to take notes. Now, the way to do the midpoints, I think the midpoints are actually the hardest thing in the whole thing because the midpoints need 2 formulas, not just one. You need one formula to figure out the basic, like the foundation for, and I'm going to make it yellow so you guys can see it. But that cell right there, I need to make that and first, and then I'll build everything from that cell. Okay, so to find that cell, we have to use the formula from the notes to find a midpoint. So if you remember in the notes, so we're going to call this, I'm going to write this down, foundation midpoint. This is the first thing you find, right? The foundational midpoint. You take equals and then parentheses and then lower plus next lower, close parentheses divided by 2. Right? You take the lower class limit plus the next lower class limit and close them in parentheses. People forget the parentheses. Don't forget the parentheses. Divide by 2. And Erin is typing to you guys. Take good notes. Guys, take good notes tonight, guys, and keep this attached to your yellow packet. Yes. All right. You got to figure out how to do this for yourself every time. So lower class limit plus next lower class limit. Add them up, divide by 2. All right, so let me go do that. So in this cell right here, which is B3, and I've zoomed in pretty far, but I'll zoom in a little bit more here. Let me zoom in. Woo, maybe not that far. All right, equals, parentheses, B, oh no, not B, 15. That's the lower class limit for the class I'm in. Plus what? 15 plus. Sure, you can use 20. Thank you. You can use one sheet of notes front and back. I'm going to write pretty big. So you'll probably want to rewrite it for the time of your test, right? Because you're only allowed one sheet of paper in addition to your yellow packet, right? So equals parentheses 15 plus 20, close parentheses divided by 2. So for tonight, write the notes as big as you want, but then you'll have to hone it for when you get to the test. All right, so everybody got 15 plus 20 divided by 2? In parentheses, divided by 2. Hit enter, and you should get 17.5 if you did it right. Everybody gets that. Oh my goodness. Now I gotta sneeze. Nope, it's not happening. All right, then how do you find the rest of the midpoints? Right? This is where a lot of people fall down on this because they start using that formula for all of them, which defeats the purpose. I want you to use a draggable formula. So to do that, you have to take the foundational midpoint, midpoint in a cell reference, right? It'll be like equals B, in our case, 3, and then you're going to add the class width, right? So it's going to be B3 plus something, right? Because B3 was where our foundational midpoint was. So then the question becomes, how do we find the class width? Okay. Well, that was in the notes, but that's okay. Let's look at a look. Okay. So if I look at this table, what's the class width? What's the width of each of the classes here? Yes. Yep. You could in this case, Ephraim. That's a good question. But look at you guys. Nobody said 4. Yay! That's good because it's 5, right? It's 5, right? So hold on, Ephraim. That's a great question. Give me 1 second, honey. Okay. So class width, you find it from next lower minus lower, right? I know that sounds weird, but like in our case, in our example, it was like 20 take away 15 and it was 5. Like it's like the next lower class limit minus the current lower class limit. Oh, okay, Naomi, thanks for letting me know. All right, so is everybody following how that class width goes? Right, so it's next lower minus the current lower. So like the 20 take away the 15 or the 15 take away the 10 or all that stuff. So let me finish this, Ephraim, and then I will answer your question. So you go equals B3, B3. It literally is referring to a cell. That's the whole point of this. When I give you the assignment, it says it has to be a draggable formula. That's what this means. It means using cell references. So B3 plus, in our case, 5. So equals B3 plus 5. So now do you see what I mean when I said here? Equals the foundational midpoint, which is B3, plus the width, which in our case was 5. But it'll change from problem to problem. But that's the idea. How are we doing there? Everybody understanding that much? Got the 17.5, you're going to equals B3 plus 5, you're going to hit enter. Cool. Oh, I see lots of thumbs. All right, we're good. So now click on that 22.5, get back up there, and see how it makes like this blue box. and you move your cursor to the bottom right corner, and it'll turn into a little plus sign. And if you have a mouse, you can click and drag it down. Now, if you don't have a mouse, if you're stuck without a mouse, what I would do, Control C and then Control V or Command V if you're on a Mac, Command C, Command V, and just arrow down, Command V, arrow down, Command V, arrow down, Command V, or Control V if you're on a PC, which I am. That'll do it also. So you either drag it or you control or copy, paste, 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 all the way down. Right? If you don't have a mouse, it's always more of a pain. That's why I always have a mouse. but if you don't have a mouse, it can be more of a pain. How are we doing there? Everybody got all those filled. Thumbs ups? See David thumbs upping me? Everybody good? Oops, nope. Waiting. We gotta wait for more thumbs. Waiting for some folks. On a Mac, it's the same thing, Iceland. It's just Command C to copy, Command V to paste. The command button, which I think is, I don't know where it is. It's down in the bottom left corner somewhere. Is that okay, Iceland? Okay. Now, two more things. First thing, to do this cell that's missing, we added to move down. So guess what we're about to do? I'll take a wild guess. Minus, yes. All right, so B3 minus 5. Enter. There it is. Subtract. Here, I'll click on it. Can you all see the formula up here? See that? Okay, so here's what happened over the weekend. And I don't know if any of you fell into this, but if you did, now you know what to do. A lot of people watched the video and they proceeded to type all the answers and all the numbers, which is no points at all, nothing. It's not the numbers that matter, it's the method, right? You're proving that you can do this with formulas. When I click on a cell, I need to be able to see that formula up in that green ring right there. See how it changes? See? It's changing, right? Because it's using cell references. That has to be there. This yellow one has to be with the real formula. These other ones have to be with the adding on formula, right? I have to be able to see the formulas. You cannot just glorified type what I did in a video and get points for this. Now, Afreen's question is a really good one. Why didn't I do the 10 plus 15? Because I totes could have. And the reason is because a lot of times these tables have like here, they go 10 and under. They do that and then it won't work or something. And so I was just like, or under 14, that's what it would be. It'd be 14 and under. It'd be everybody less than 15. And then in which case you don't have one. And so then you can't do that one. If we do the second one, you can always do the second one and then go backwards and figure out the first one. That's why I did it that way. Does that make sense? So I was because I'm trying to help you guys develop notes that will always work. And if I did the 10 plus 15, that won't always work. If there's an open-ended class, that won't work. But this, if you do it with the second row, will work, right? It'll work that way. So that's why I did it that way. Does that make sense? It's because of the open-ended. If it's open-ended, you can't do it. So I just stuck with a method that I knew would work. So that's why I did it that way. But of course, you are welcome if you want to do the 10 plus 15 for that first one and then do the adding 5 for the rest of it, feel free. Not hurting my feelings at all. Everybody good now? Does that help, Afreen, with that question? Good. Okay. All right. Next. Then a couple of you guys might have done this. You might have lost points because there's one thing you can't do, which is just find what they all add up to and then just type it. The whole point of this is you're learning formulas. Basic spreadsheet programs are important for you to know how to manipulate for all sorts of jobs and life and classes and stuff. So you're going to learn how to find the sum. This is really hard. Sarcasm. You type equals. Ta-da! It knows what you want to do. It says, would you like me to sum from C2 to C13? You put a little nice orange box around it, and then it labels it in orange right there. It's like, yes, please. Yes, that's what I would like. So if you hit the tab button, it will do it. It'll make it a sum. It'll just happen. All right, so hit the tab button. Oops, I got to be in here. There we go. And now we have the sum. But you'll notice I can see a formula, right? It's not just the number. I can see the sum formula in there. You have to find the total with the sum. Um, that's a good question, Afreen. I graded them already for most people. If you only lost a few points, then no, don't bother redoing it. But if you lost like 10, 15, 20 points, some people lost all the points and got zeros, they need to redo it. Right? The people that just typed, they need to redo it. All right. Normally I don't let you redo, but that was your first one. So it's fine. But if you just lost a point or two, you're fine. You're fine. You're gonna do about 10 of these. You're gonna do so many of these, you're gonna get sick of them by the time you get to the midterm. So don't worry about it too much. Okay. All right. So with that, we've done the sum. So we did it. That was really, really easy. Now it's time for relative frequency time. Okay. So, oh, we better make notes. Hold on. We better make notes. So to find the total, it's equals sum, and it's going to be C2 colon C something, right? And it'll end at different spots depending on how big your table is. So like ours ended at like C13, but like yours might end at C4 or might end at C8 or whatever. Like we don't know. How are we doing there?
Can you hold here on the notes real quick? Real quick.
Sure, yeah. So I'm thinking, and while we wait for a couple people to write, I was thinking I maybe should redo the one you guys did over the weekend in such a way that I show these notes as we do it. What do you think? Thoughts? I mean, I made them at a different time. You have to understand, I've written actually 3 Excel manuals. So I'm really good at spreadsheet programs. So like it's hard for me to remember like how to set up the, things. But anyway, so if I'm totally open if you guys think I should do it. I can't do it now, obviously for you guys, it's too late, but it'd be for like next semester. Okay. So now that we got that, okay, so relative frequency. So relative frequency, remember, actually, let me go back. To get relative frequency, we take the frequency and we divide it by the total, right? That's what relative frequency is, right? It's a decimal. So we type equals, and then we want the frequency divided by the total. Well, the frequency will be a cell reference. So this is going to be like C2, right? And then we're going to divide it by the total, and the total can be happen one of two ways. Oh, that's not a good way to do this. You can write it as a number, or you can do, well, a reference, but hold on, let me show it to you. Let me show it to you and then I'll go write the words. So equals, because you want to click off a formula. So equals C2, which is the 2358. That's C2. Divide. Now, here's what I mean. You can type the number 533453. Just be careful when you type it that you type it correctly. That will work, right? That will totally work. So equals C2 divided by total. You can type the total in yourself, right? The other way to do it is C14. However, because 533453 is in cell C14, right? Everybody sees that, right? But here's the problem. If I hit enter and I drag that down, it changes to C15, C16, and those rows have 0 in them. There's nothing in there. It doesn't know what you want to do. It's like, what the hell are you doing? So you can't do that. See the problem? So the way to fix that is called fixing the reference. You're going to lock that C14 in. And the way to do that is with dollar signs. You put dollar signs in front of the C and a dollar sign in front of the 14, and then it locks it in place. Never change it. It's this cell no matter what. So either you type it your own self, 533453, which is totally fine, or dollar sign C, dollar sign 14, and it will lock the reference in place. It's called fixing the reference. The reference itself is C14. So when I hit enter and now when I drag it down, or it'll probably autofill for you guys. If it autofills, you hit the little check mark and be like, yes, please. Thank you. That's what I want. Then it'll be perfect, right? So on your notes, it's either a number or $C, $, and then there's like a number in here, like 14 in our case. But it doesn't matter to me. So if the $ thing confuses you, then fine, just write the number. I don't care. It's fine. But you have to be one of those two methods. You cannot just have C14 on its own. That's no good. It has to have the $. It has to be draggable. And C14 on its own is not draggable. It has to be with the $ to make it draggable. Does everybody see what I mean now by draggable? Like when I dragged it, it made crappy answers that didn't work. That you can't have that. You got to have draggability. You got to be able to drag the formula. All right, is everybody cool with this? So let's go back. Okay. Oh. Do you guys see how everything's blue? See how it's all blue? That means it's highlighted, right? So now to make it so there's less decimals, I'm going to click on this less decimals button. See that? I'm going to hit it a lot of times and it's going to make it so that there's less decimals. And if you go too far, whoop, I went way too far. You can click on the more decimals button and get some of the decimals back. So you want 3 decimal places. And just on a side note, while I wait, I forgot to show this to the morning, so I'll show it to you guys. So do you see how you have frequencies here? So just suppose Alana asked you a question like, how many people had gonorrhea between ages 15 and 24? Just suppose. You could highlight the frequencies. Just highlight them with your little mouse, right? That's highlighting. You make it so that's not dragging. That's highlighting. So you move your cursor to the middle and kind of shift down or drag your cursor down. Does everybody see what popped up in the bottom right corner? Can y'all see that? It adds them for you. Very helpful for worksheet questions. Because if you want to know how many things add up to, you can just highlight them. So like, if I want to know between this group and this group and this group, ta-da! It's added. All for me. All done. Nicey nice. Yes? Yes. So
Okay, wait.
keep
Am
that
I
feature
looking
in
in the
mind.
wrong spot?
Where?
Where is it adding it up? I don't see that.
See in the bottom right corner, can you see what I circled in green? Where it said sum? You might have to scroll over if you're on your phone. It's in the bottom right corner, automatic. Wee, right there. Eat at Joe's. You see the arrow
I
pointing down
see
to it?
now. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're on your phone, sometimes you have to move, move the screen over to be able to see it, but it's
Yeah, I
there.
think it's because on the computer it's like hidden by the little bar along the bottom
Yeah,
that says like
exactly.
Oh, you
participants
might
in
have to
chat
shove
or
your
whatever.
Zoom bar. Got it. Well,
Yeah.
your Zoom bar can get shoved, just so you know. You guys can literally click and drag it, move it somewhere else if you need to.
Good to know.
But it's such a nice feature. That's why I want you guys to be able to see it. Very helpful for worksheets. Hint, hint, hint for tonight. Hint. Okay, so then there's that. So now, okay, while we were waiting. Okay, so we got those all done. So everybody good with relative frequency? We're all okay? Okay. Question. Go ahead, David.
So I dragged all the formulas all the way down,
Uh-huh.
but then it made my font like super small and it kind of blurred out the lines, the horizontal lines in that row.
Ooh. Well, you could always re-highlight them, and the lines are right here under the borders menu
Okay.
up here, and then the font size is right here. So you could always just make it 18 font again, make it Calibri, that's my favorite font, and then put the boxes back around it. Like you can fiddle around with that stuff up there in that menu. Does that help? Other questions? Good. Okay. Cumulative is the other weird one. I gotta be honest. Midpoints and cumulative. Cumulative's not hard though. Once you learn how cumulative works, it works great. So the thing about cumulative frequency is that the first one is always the same. So it's just going to be that number right there. It's C2. But don't accept this. Hit a big X. You don't want that, right? You just want that cell to be the same. But that's it. Right? Don't take the autofill. right? Just do that. Or you could just type it 2358. It's fine. All right. So that one is always locked in. That's why I made them aqua. So you can see they're the same. Then it's the next cell. So the first one is always the same. And then the next one is always equals the one we just found, E2 plus C3. It's taking the one above, 2358, plus that 84637 that's over on the frequency side. So equals E2 plus C3 or C3 plus E2. The order doesn't matter. And then you hit enter and drag it. So I hit enter, I click, and I drag. And there it is. And again, those of you without a mouse, you might have to do the copy paste thing because having a mouse makes it a lot easier. Because if you have one of those pads on your laptop and then you got to go over and make the plus sign and then kind of try to drag, and it can get really annoying. So copy paste, copy paste, copy paste can work great. Everybody got it? Here, I'm going to go write notes. So let's think about this. Oh, for rounding, we'll make a little note. So for rounding, we highlighted the column, right? Make it all blue. And then we hit it was like this and then a left arrow button, right? We hit that button lots, right? To make it so that there was less decibels. Right, so that was rounding. And then for cumulative frequency, okay, so for cumulative frequency, it always works this way. The first one would be, so in cell E2, it's always equal to C2. It's always the same, right, as C2, always. So, and then for cell E3, elephant 3, we did equals E2 plus C3. It will always be that formula. And then we drag it down. That making sense to everybody? So I can go back to the spreadsheet, but I want to give you time to write the formulas. Are the formulas making sense? E2 plus C3, drag. Drag it down. And like I'm just writing my shorthand for this. So this is answering your question from earlier, Hannah. You do get to use a sheet of notes, but you won't want to take your whole sheet of notes up with this. Like you're going to want to figure out like ways to kind of get yourself to think about this, maybe write it smaller, maybe reorganize it differently, figure out, do you know what this means? You might not need to write the word drag, like you just put an arrow and you mean to drag or, things like that. So that's kind of stuff that you get better at as you practice it. Okay, so that's the cumulative frequency. That's all done. And again, it looks like this, and you can see the formula sitting right there in the formula bar. That needs to be there, right? If it's not there, you're not getting the points. Oh, I don't know. It actually won't take you that long. I know I'm taking my time on this one, Michaela, but um when we went into groups today, it took the students like 3 or 4 minutes and they had the next one done. Like it doesn't take long once you know what you're doing and have like a sheet to refer to. It's pretty quick. So I would say get it done within the next day or so, right? Because you'd be surprised. It can kind of go fast once you know what you're doing. So, all right, that's that piece. But I mean, if that's a problem, let me know. Like we can always talk about it. Okay, so then last bit. So the cumulative relative. Well, cumulative relative frequency is still a relative frequency, right? So you just take the cumulative frequency, which is E2, and we divide it by the total. So you either type 533453 or you do $C $14 to lock in that C14, that cell reference. So whichever way you want to do it, it's the same as you did the other one. And then you hit enter, and then the Google spreadsheet knows what you want to do. It's auto-filling. Auto-filling is basically dragging the formula for you. So yeah, that's what we want. So I'm going to click the little check mark. And then I'm going to highlight them all, make them all blue, and then hit the less. There we go. Got 3 decimal places. All right, so let me write that formula down. So to do the cumulative relative, Let's think. We did on cell F2, right? We did equals E2 divided by the total, right? It's the cumulative frequency divided by the total. Oops, sorry. Here, hold on. These are different things. So you take that cumulative frequency, which was E2 divided by the total. The total you can do either as a number or $C number, but like you'll have to figure out what that number is for your problem. Is that okay for everybody? Is that making sense? Questions? I'll leave that up for a second. Let you guys get some writing. And then again, rounding. I'm not going to bother rewriting rounding. Rounding is the same thing, right? That's how we round. You highlight the column and you shrink it. For the chart, I didn't. There's nothing to write. The chart actually is in the instructions. So if you go to the instructions sheet, it actually says, insert chart. It tells you what to do. So you highlight the frequencies. Oh, I will say that I did have a question about this from a student this weekend, because they kept dragging. Here, I'll show you what happened. So they were here on the frequency, and then they got so used to dragging for the formulas that they thought they had to drag for the graph, and it came that. And it was like, whoa, and that you knew that was wrong. So I'm like, no, no, no. So Control Z, get back. It's highlighting. So you have to make it so your cursor's that arrow, and then you click and drag, or shift, hold down your shift key and down arrow, down arrow, down arrow, down, 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 whoop, left, down, 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 like that. Don't get the 5 through 3. The 5 through 3 is out. It's everything else. So you get everything else from the top to the bottom, but not the 5 through 3. So either shift down or highlight down, and then click Insert Chart. It's going to take it a second. There it is. And then there's your chart. It's lovely. Over here, we have the chart editor. That's this whole side to the right, which you don't really want. So you can click the little X and kind of close it. You don't need it. So we're not messing with this chart at all. You could mess with it if you want to, but close it. And then just move your cursor. You might have to click on the graph a couple times to get it so it has this blue box around it, and then drag it over. You got to shove it off of your table, and you're basically done. All you got to do is upload it now. But that's it. Okay? Is that helpful? Good. Yeah, highlight the frequency. I can do it again. So you highlight the frequencies, but not that total. Don't get that guy. Highlight the frequencies so they're all blue, and you click Insert Chart. Poof, there's the chart. I'll close the chart editor and I will shove it over. It is shoved. There it is. Or you could shove it down. That's why I left space down here, so you have a space to shove your chart. So shove your chart to the right or shove it down, shove it someplace, and you're done, right? All you got to do now is click share. And a couple people lost points because I couldn't see their thing because they forgot to click on the restricted. You got to make it so that I can see it. So you got to change it from restricted. So you click on that restricted and change it to anyone with the link. And then you copy the link right there. So then you copy it, and then you're going to go to Canvas and you're going to upload it, right? So, and then there was a little question. So on a student view, you have to scroll down to see the, oh my Lord, to see the URL, to see the upload piece. It's like one of the options to upload is uploading a URL. Here, let me do a new attempt. So right here. So you got to click on this web URL, and then you got to paste. Now, if you are a person who did this in Excel, then you would have to upload an Excel file. You'd have to save your file and upload it as an Excel file. But I'm assuming that if you did it as an Excel, you know how to do that. So again, in here, you click share, change it so anyone with the link is a viewer. You click copy the link. And then you go in here to the project. You might have to refresh. Sometimes this web URL thing doesn't want to show up, but click refresh and then scroll down. And then the web URL upload Canvas Studio thing comes up. You click the web URL, you paste it, and you click submit. And confetti. And you did it. All good?